One of the true joys of the Alien movie series isn't the bloody xenomorph attacks or even the dark, workmanlike view of space, though both those things are great. No, the real secret weapon from the 1979 original through nearly every theatrical entry in the franchise is that filmmakers have put their own signature take on the material. Rather than merely deliver the same scares and plot beats in different iterations, from the amped-up action of Aliens to the moody darkness of Alien 3, the wild woolliness of Alien Resurrection to the bold mythological reinvention of Prometheus, the series never fell in the trap of other horror franchises because it's been allowed to get weird. Noah Hawley is a creator known for getting weird. He had a take on Marvel's X-Men that nobody else could have delivered with Legion, and adapted the Coen brothers' Fargo into an ongoing anthology series, and now Hawley has done it again, wildly expanding on the mythology of the Alien franchise with a series that leads into his signature quirks and visual flourishes while not neglecting the blood and horror that is Alien's bread and butter. Simply put, the first season of Alien Earth is the best of the franchise since Aliens back in 1986. The concept of the show riffs on multiple bits from throughout the movies, while set 2 years before the events of the original Alien, and in spirit picks up a dangling plotline from the end of Alien Resurrection. What is Earth like in this dark, corporate-driven future? And what would happen if a ship containing the alien crashed on Earth? That's exactly what happens here, as the Weyland-Yutani-owned research vessel, the Mangonaut, crashes into territory owned by Prodigy, one of the other 5 corporations that have divided Earth. That ship, of course, has a xenomorph on it and several xenomorph eggs, but it's also carrying multiple other species from throughout the galaxy, all predators, all unique in their own horrifying ways. Don't worry, the xenomorph is still the main event, the apex predator of the Alien universe, even as Hawley and crew find unique ways to use the creature that have never before been seen on screen and likely will be highly controversial for die-hard fans. Actually, that's not entirely true. The xenomorph, as usual, is an outside stressor on the bigger issues the property is dealing with. Shocking spoiler, Alien as a series has always been about how corporations and the rich use and dispose of human beings, not mere haunted house scares. Here, that conflict takes the form of another expansion in the mythology, in this case the synthetics that have populated the franchise since the beginning. What Alien Earth does is add several twists on this. Not only are there the morally ambiguous synths, but also cyborgs, and the game changer from Prodigy, hybrids, who have synth bodies, but also supposedly the consciousness of human beings transferred from the dying bodies of children. Here, the show gets to riff on another plot point from Resurrection through Wendy, played by Sydney Chandler, who is essentially a combo of Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder's characters, a synth body with a childlike mind and a possible deep connection to the xenomorphs that gets explored throughout the first season. Chandler is a great anchor for the show, providing wide-eyed, childlike innocence, but able to switch to action mode whenever necessary. The series is not at all subtly pervaded with allusions to Peter Pan, and Wendy is clearly Wendy Darling, capable, in charge, still a child, but on the cusp of becoming a woman. The rest of the hybrid cast takes a little while to settle into their roles, though, as the first season seems to be figuring them out in their places as they go. All the adult actors are channeling children in different ways. The idea is that the synth bodies don't age, so why not throw their child minds into adult synth bodies now, rather than replace them later, with varying success. Lily Newmark makes an impression as the increasingly unhinged Nibs, who brings into focus a lot of the thorny ethical quandaries inherent in the premise that are initially ignored by the "hey, want to see a magic trick" introduction in the pilot. And Adarsh Gurav takes a lot of focus in the second half of the season after mostly being paired in a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern style comedic duo with Jonathan Ajay Smee, the latter of which throws himself around the room like a kid with ADHD. The adult cast, though, is right in it, and there's a much higher comfort level here from Hawley and company scripts when it comes to the weird business dealings and unstoppable killers, plot points we've seen play out over multiple seasons of Fargo. Timothy Oliphant is excellent and enigmatic as usual as the Prodigy's science synth Kirsch. Babu Sase is that unstoppable killer I noted just a sentence or two earlier, as Weyland-Yutani's cyborg security officer Morrow, and Essie Davis plays the mom role well as Dame Sylvia, one of the 2 childless scientists who developed the process to transfer human consciousness into synth bodies. Slightly less successful is Samuel Blanken as Boy Cavalier, the head of Prodigy, who is clearly inspired by Peter Pan, but mostly perhaps purposefully, channels the annoying tics of a boy who won't grow up. And Alex Lothar as Hermit takes a central role that ties him directly to Wendy, but through his low-key line delivery and general lack of purpose outside of helping move the plot forward, doesn't get to be nearly as interesting as the script wants to make him. That's okay though, because there are a lot of interesting things going on in the show otherwise. Science fiction is best when it's representing and expanding on the world outside our window, and the idea that 5 corporations could take over the world less than 100 years from now is a timely and pressing concern, almost as terrifying as a killer alien crash landing in a major city. When it comes to this idea, the first season feels like it's just getting started with what Hawley wants to say about this. We get a lot of focus on Prodigy, a fair amount on the Yutani half of Weyland-Yutani, but the rest mostly remain a mystery for further seasons. Is there something to be said about an anti-corporate show being broadcast on FX and Hulu, which is owned by Disney? Sure. Hawley doesn't really go in that direction yet, but there's a broad canvas for him to expand if the show continues. It's also the bloodiest and most violent alien entry yet, which is a pretty high bar, but Alien Earth crosses it easily. The show doesn't shy away from the xenomorph or its rampages. Don't worry, there's no Surf Dracula. You're going to see the titular character in every single episode. From bisected bodies crawling across the floor to heads ripped apart to hallways slathered in blood, this is as visceral and horrifying as horror fans could want, in between the big sci-fi ideas, social commentary, and character dynamics. It'll also unlock entirely new fears, thanks to an array of additional horrors, the show calls them monsters, and they really are, that Weyland-Yutani has brought to Earth. The standout is the adorable, terrifying octopus eyeball called the Eye that provides some of the most disturbing imagery on the show, and is surprisingly central to the plot. But there are others, from a mysterious plant-like creature hanging from the ceiling of the pilot, to killer bloodsuckers, to a late edition called The Fly. And speaking of new fears, particularly in the show's standout 5th episode, which is the most direct tribute to the original Alien, and on its own the best Alien movie since the original, get ready to never drink from a thermos ever again. But the absolute best part of Alien Earth is that it avoids the prequel trap of laying breadcrumbs up to the original properties. The series is decidedly Hawley and company telling their own story in the world of Alien in a way that could only exist on TV, rather than merely filling in the gaps. It's also clear this is just the beginning of a multi-season story instead of a done-in-one miniseries, a la other franchises like Marvel and Star Wars. This should be a baseline to make a TV series in the TV format for TV, but with something like this, it's a rarity. So thankfully, Alien Earth leans into the medium and its strengths rather than just delivering more of an 8-episode movie. While diehard fans will likely be debating the xenomorph mythology and how it all fits in with the pre-existing series, who cares? We've got new horrors to thrill and terrify, pressing and timely societal questions ranging from the dominance of corporations to the ethical quandaries of transhumanism, some excellent acting, and gorgeous 70s-inspired set design and visuals. In space, no one can hear you scream, but on TV, the message is loud and clear. Alien is in great hands with Hawley and FX. Let's get weird. Alien Earth premieres Tuesday, August 12 on Hulu and FX with 2 episodes. Let us know what you're excited about from Alien Earth or nervous about in the comments below.